Yeah, I'll be with ESPN's John Buccigross any minute now. He's going to call in here. For those who don't know, he's one of the greatest sports center anchors ever in ESPN history. He's one of the first on-air hires ever at ESPN News. He's Mr. Frozen 4. He announces the college championship hockey every year for ESPN. He's been at the company for 2+ decades, so he is legitimate today. And he's going to be calling in any second now, so just letting more people come in and join the chats here. Steve, my boy, I see he's in the Instagram. I see you. What's up? Thanks for tuning in here. You guys all know Steve. He does the Terrific Talk podcast with me all the time. What do you think of that Michael Jordan documentary last night? It's pretty good. So Facebook Live for the first time ever. I've never done this. I want to figure out if anyone knows at home how to do Facebook Live. Right now, I've just got my phone here. It's recording my computer screen right ahead of me that you see there. If there's any way to do that, just through my phone where I don't have to record the computer, I can just do it through my phone, that would be ideal, but I don't know how to do that at all. So we got this little system here. So as you can see, phone right there, that's the Facebook Live feed. Then we got the other phone right here, old school phone. That's for the Instagram. So we're everywhere. And then when I'm done with this, I'm going to put this up on YouTube. I'll cut clips for Instagram, Facebook that you guys have been seeing. Ian, I see you. What's going on, man? Thanks for watching. Good guy. Ashley, hey. I know. They want to see the baby. All right, here's John. Looks like he's trying to connect. Hey, John. Can you hear me? Hey, John, can you hear me?
I can.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Bet.
Super nice of you. So I wanted to have you on. First of all, got to ask, how are you surviving here during this quarantine? What are you eating? I know you've been known to eat buckets of chicken. How are you surviving out there?
Yeah, my life's not too much different. I live out in the country here in Connecticut. I go to the grocery store, cook dinner. I usually have a big breakfast. Bacon, eggs, sausage, avocado, and I make myself a steak just about every day. So I eat pretty simply, and I don't work as much anymore. I work 7-8 days a month, trying to focus more on play-by-play down the road.
Right.
So like I said, if I could go to the gym, my life would be pretty similar than it was before.
I like it. So the reason you came on today is I wanted to have you share some advice for young people out there, and the way we got in touch was via Twitter. And I was just looking at your Twitter bio, and I thought it was interesting. It's kind of your mission statement there with 4 kind of key principles. It says, nobody knows anything, composure, confidence, calm. Can you talk about that a little bit? What did you mean by writing those kind of qualities?
Well, certainly, especially the times we're going through now, you hear so many things and studies and projections and models. And, my big thing in the end, we really don't know anything. Life is difficult. Things can change at a moment's notice for this little planet in this giant solar system with gigantic mysteries, and people have an idea of when the Earth began and when it might end, but do they really know? How far are they off? It's just, so if we just kind of, like I said, keep our composure, forget the past, forget the future, try to live for today, be confident that, you can get through the day. Again, being calm, concentrating on what makes you happy, what makes you productive. You just focus on those simple things. In the end, it's not about opinions or having an opinion smarter than somebody else, or what you really think might happen, and how to just kind of approach things calmly in your way. And hopefully that's enough just to get through one day at a time.
You're doing live broadcasts all the time. How has being calm and confident kind of helped you with your broadcasting career?
By not rushing, by speaking slower. Someone gave me a great tip about midway through my ESPN tenure here of pausing between sentences. And those just simple little, it was a great little tip. Just when you say a sentence, it ends, start the next sentence. It can just be a little more almost theatrical. You can think about what was just said, then you say something else, and you just kind of pause and speak slowly and clearly. And that was a great tip. I got better right away when this TV coach told me that, just to put a little bit of a pause in between sentences, and that really helped me. And so it's a great, whether you're golfing, not to rush your golf swing, whether you're on television, not to rush your sentences, just be calm, concentrate, have some confidence. And I didn't have a lot of confidence as a young broadcaster. I wish I had more. I think I would have got better sooner, but I've been more, things, it usually takes me a while. I'm kind of a slow learner. It takes me a while to pick things up. And so yeah, I wish I would have been a little more confident as a young person. But I've always been very competitive. I call them the 4 C's. Tell my kids, you got to, and I kind of use the analogy when Tom Brady and the Patriots were down 28-3, they really had to incorporate the 4 C's to win that game. The first was competitiveness. That's something you have to continue to compete. I'm sure they were disappointed down 28-3, but they weren't defeated. So you got to keep competing. You have to be competitive. And then from that point, and then the second most important thing is your composure. Okay, you got to keep your composure because that ties into the next one, which is to concentrate. So first they kept their composure. They're going to keep competing. Then you see they kind of keep their composure. They don't, you can get fired up, but you don't blame other people. You don't quit. And then you concentrate. Then you start, okay, how do we win this game? How does the math work out? We need this to happen. We got to score every time we have the ball. And we need 1 turnover. I'm sure that's what they're thinking. We need 1 turnover, and we need to score just about every time. So that's where you start concentrating, doing math. And they got the turnover on the Hightower sack, and then they scored. And then the final one is confidence. And I bet they didn't really think about confidence until they won the coin toss in overtime. I'm sure even at the end of regulation, they still weren't confident. They were still concentrating. They're obviously still competing, keeping their composure and concentrating and make sure things are precise. The pass routes are precise. The play is precise. Not a lot of confidence yet. You're just competing. But when they won that coin toss in overtime, I guarantee that's when the final C, confidence, kicked in, and there was no doubt they were going to go down and score. And that's when they incorporate all 4 of competing, keeping your composure still concentrating to call the right play and run the right route, throw the perfect window, but the confidence just carried them into the championship. So those are 4 things I try to think about.
I love it. You mentioned, I thought it's super interesting that early on as a broadcaster, you weren't completely confident in yourself. It's interesting hearing someone who's gotten to your level, that's just how you felt early on, because I've definitely dealt with that early on, trying to kind of find my voice and being able to talk in front of a camera and everything. How do you kind of find your confidence?
Yeah, it's I'm kind of an introvert and shy by nature. So that's one reason why. And just, I knew I was confident in the content. I was a big sports fan. I knew sports history. I followed the game for a long time. So even by the time I was 24, 25, I still knew baseball history going back to the 20s. I knew the history of the NBA, the NHL, and football. I knew as much, my Super Bowl history was as good as anybody. I knew every Super Bowl champion, every MVP, the coaches. I just read and watched everything. So I had a lot of confidence in the content. I tell people, if you want to get better at TV, it's the most important thing is to knowing the content. If I hosted a boxing show, I wouldn't be as good as host if I hosted a hockey show. I just wouldn't. I just don't know the content as well. You can study up and learn as much as you can and get to a point where you're pretty good, but you'll never be as good as when you're just totally confident of the content. So I knew I had that part of it down, but I still love TV and I love broadcasters. I liked late night talk show hosts and how they kind of commanded. And so in the end, I was just kind of playing broadcaster, even at ESPN. I don't know how many people were watching. I really don't. It's just me and a couple cameramen. So then it was just kind of having a good time, working with the person I'm with, like he's a buddy. And then just kind of doing this, doing the sports show that I know and having fun. And then and then as you get it and you get older, you just start to get a little more confidence. I think comes naturally. So I think the first key is to understanding what you're doing and understanding the content and how things work. Then from there, you can start to gain your confidence.
You talk about content and, you were very passionate about sports as a kid. I've read, especially hockey, I read you drove from Ohio once all the way to Pittsburgh to sneak into a Penguins game there. Just that's how passionate you were. First of all, how did you sneak into the game? Where did this passion come from? Did you get this from your father? Where did it all?
Yeah. I probably got it from my dad. He was an ultra competitive guy, emotional guy, played slow pitch softball, really good player, watched everything on TV, screamed at the refs, would pick a guy to root for in tennis. He loved Jimmy Connors. You know, he's a Steeler fan. So I just kind of was always at my dad's hip. And so to see him get that involved with sports. But yeah, I was born a competitive person as well. And also very emotional when I played. I cared a lot and really competed hard and tried to get better. So yeah, I think I got a lot of it from him. And so to see that role model early on, that got my interest. And like I said, being a bit of a shy introvert, I moved when I was 11, away from all my friends. That probably made me even more of an introvert. And so I just even did more stuff with sports and reading and watching TV and doing during the baseball strike when I was 15 years old. I made like a whole imaginary baseball game with sound effects and crowd noise. I mapped out the whole game. I scored it first and then just did the play-by-play with the sound effect and a whole 9-inning game. So I would create things like that all the time because I love watching those things on TV. NFL films was a big impact on me. The music, the slow motion, the writing. That was a big impact on. I said, man, that just everything looks so theatrical and mythical and movie making. That's how I love those grand melodramatic giant things. And so that was another big impact was things like NFL films and playing sports, which I loved, and watching, the NFL got massively popular in the 70s and baseball was still the national pastime. And so, yeah, whatever season it was, I watched. I loved all four sports, big four sports, pretty much the same. And then I got into golf and always watched tennis. So yeah, if it was sports, I was watching it.
Cool. You mentioned having the running mate kind of alongside you when you're doing the show, how important that is. Like, it's just your buddy. You deal with that in play-by-play, also hosting studio. Doing Sports Center, who was kind of your favorite running mate there?
I really liked everybody I work with, whether it's, I love working with, women because they're fun because you can make them laugh. And that really makes you kind of, when you make someone laugh, it's just a great feeling. And so I thought I had really good energy and plus just to kind of be there as a support, someone to tell them that, because it's hard for some women. They get, such negative comments on social media and just they can feel it probably sometimes that people don't. I think we're just about past that now, but certainly starting off, even just 10, 20 years ago, it was still tough for them. So I always like being there as a support system and really respect them and take them seriously. And so that was a cool dynamic. And then certainly working with a lot of guys my age, Scott Van Pelt, John Anderson, Kenny Mayne, and going back to even 20 years ago with guys who are no longer at ESPN, but still similar age. That was just really a good time. I always tell people, try not to be funny when you anchor sports or broadcast, just try to have fun. It's, we're not professional comedians. Those guys have a special gift to write jokes and tell jokes and create characters. And some people in our business can do it. They're very talented. Scott Van Pelt's a great impressionist. He can do some amazing impressions. I can do a few, and I'm not great, but, close. But for the most part, if we just have fun, be smart, be a little analytical, know that you know what you're talking about, have a historical reference from all the time you read about sports and watch sports, but just mainly have fun and have a little quick wit every now and then. Just let things kind of play out naturally instead of trying to force jokes. That's usually when, sometimes they want us to do these skits and stuff. I'm like, that's just not what we do here. That's not our strength. Occasionally we can do something that can work, but for the most part, let's try to have fun and be smart. If we do that, it'll probably work out better.
2+ decades at ESPN. It's an amazing feat. A lot of people kind of watching this. Well, they're going from job to job, company to company. Is it important to you, like looking at your career, that you've been able to spend so much of your life there at just one company like ESPN?
Yeah, I've been real lucky. I don't look at, I didn't really get into it for fame or for awards. Like, I don't care about Emmys and awards, and I have zero interest in that. I want to make good money to support my family and send my kids to college so they don't have student loans. And it was the best part about staying at ESPN so long is my kids basically grew up in the same school system. That was my goal for them. Like I said, I moved when I was 11. It was pretty difficult and traumatic.
Right.
So I'm so lucky. My youngest boy, he went K through high school senior in the same school system. I mean, that's rare maybe for a lot of people in any field, but certainly in my field,
Yeah.
it's really rare. So I'm so blessed. That was more important to me than anything I did. I've been surprised I made it as far as I did and as long as I have now without really ever being career oriented. Like I never carried business cards. I never really networked. I didn't intern when I was in college. I just kind of did it because I enjoyed it. I wanted to get better. I wanted to make these cool little features when I covered high school sports on Cape Cod at my first job, make these cool profiles of these high school students with music and slow-mo and treat it like it's doing a feature on ESPN. Like I treat it the same way. And I shot it with the camera. I edited, I added the music. I loved all that stuff. So I just loved going to work every day. Even when I made no money there, I still really enjoyed it. I could see myself getting better. And like I said, it always took me longer, but I always wanted to wait till I was ready till the next step. And so I felt like I was each step, the first job I was ready because I had 4 years of college and did a lot of stuff in college. So that first job, I was definitely right. I was right there and I got better quickly. And then when I went to Providence when I was 28, I was definitely ready. And then when I got to ESPN, I was 30. It was like, I think a perfect age to get there. And I'd been doing it for 8 years. Like I said, my sports knowledge was strong when I was 22. I was good enough to be at ESPN when I was 22 in terms of my knowledge.
Yeah.
But then that 8 years of how you'd interview people, dealing with people, maturing, your voice maturing, your look maturing. And so that was it all worked out, I think, really well for me. And, patience is another big word I preach. And just kind of take your time, enjoy every day, just try to get better. If you focus on just getting better and loving what you do, everything else take care of. I never got ahead of myself, never really looked too far ahead. Just want to do a great show tonight.
You think that's like really the biggest key to your success, that you weren't so career oriented, you actually just love doing what you're doing, and that's how you've sustained such a long, successful career?
Yeah. And I think also having a family young, getting married young, I was a dad at 26, 28, and 33. Then I'm doing it for other people. I'm working for other people. I'm providing for them. So, and plus, but also enjoying them first. I'm not sacrificing any TV time or any job. I didn't miss games. I, as it turned out, my job was a lot of times at night, so I did miss dinners, which was kind of a bummer. But for the most part, I saw my kids a lot, especially in the summer because I work nights. I could see them all day. They always did stuff with my kids, took them to the field, the golf course, play catch with them whenever they wanted. So I was always very involved as a parent, and I just loved the whole family life first. That was always my number one dream anyway. So yeah, TV was I never thought it identified me, never thought I placed any value on it in terms of what people perceive me as. That don't really care about that either. It's just, as it's turned out, I had a great chance to meet a lot of really cool people. It opens up some doors for my kids, get to play, cool golf courses. When you're on TV, people kind of,
Nice.
they give you those kinds of opportunities, which I love to share with my kids or with friends. So that's the best part about that, is I can share things with friends and family, those perks of the job that come with working at ESPN.
What are some of the fun perks about working at ESPN?
Well, like I said, like this past January, this guy invited me to go play golf at his club in Florida. I said, well, if my son can come, my son plays college golf. He's a good player.
Nice.
So we went over there. It's the Medalist. It's in Florida. A lot of PGA players are pros there. Cool. And we didn't see anybody. It was a Monday. And so we played 18 holes. He goes, hey, if you guys want to play 18 more, I have to leave, but you can play with this other kid here, this kid who played with us as well. His dad was a member. He was going to join us for the second 18, but his dad never did. So he said, just go out to the shack there and have a burger or something, because it was Monday. And so just go out there. And when it's your time to tee up, go play another 18. I said, yeah, sure. So we were in there and so we're sitting there about to finish up and waiting for the tee to where it's our turn to play. And then walking through the door, and at the halfway house was Tiger Woods. And he's a member there. He's a member at the Medalist in Florida. So I was like, wow, it's Tiger. So he went and sat down. And again, like I said, I'm kind of shy. I'm not really one to go over and say hi to people in that situation. I think it happens all the time. I'll give him a break. Yeah. So we go to get up because it's now our time to go hit. And as soon as I get up from the table and stand up, Tiger says, John. He says my name. I was like, oh, so that was perfect,
How cool is that? Yeah.
Tiger grew up with me on SportsCenter. He would have seen my whole, he would have grown up as a young sports fan, and his age, he's about 10 years younger than me, but he would have watched SportsCenter all that time in the 90s and the 2000s. And so, of course, he's going to know who I am if he's watching SportsCenter. But again, that doesn't really dawn on me. It's not just so like, hey, Tiger. So I walk over so I can, Jack, it's my son, Jack. And so Jack can shake Tiger Woods' hand. So that's just, so, yeah, I don't really get flushed up by meeting famous people. It doesn't really move me or affect me anymore. So it's cool, though, to be able to share that stuff with him.
That's amazing. That's an awesome story. I saw you just finished reading Bob Iger's book. Do you have any good? I love that book too. Do you have any good recommendations for people out there?
Yeah, it was just a really good book. Obviously, what he's done with Disney is unbelievable. To buy Pixar and buy Marvel and to buy Star Wars and to instantly monetize that stuff so massively. To put Disney, of course, Disney owns ESPN, and they bought the company the same year I was hired. So I've been real lucky to kind of just ride that wave. It was perfect timing. And but to see how he manages people, we just get that good touch on when to push, when not to push, not having too big of an ego, don't get offended, being patient. And that's like, I look at that as like, I feel like we're kind of alike. Like if I could run a company like that, because I think I have that good touch of motivating people, what's a good move, what's not a good move. He's probably obviously a little more bold than I was. Like, those are big moves, man. When you can think that big, when you can think that big and think, I'm probably a little more conservative by nature, a little more cautious. But so it was kind of cool to read that in his relationship with Steve Jobs. So yeah, I love reading books like that. And I'm reading a book on the Raiders Steelers rivalry in the 70s. I'm a big Steelers fan, so it's just fun to read those things. And like I said, if anything ever comes up with a Steeler, like who passes away on SportsCenter, like I'll be able to go right into that and have an idea of the era. So yeah, I just finished a book on, Abraham Lincoln and FDR and Teddy Roosevelt. I love history as well. So anything you tie those more, I always tell people, you want to separate yourself, read books. And so I'm trying to go through, I really read a lot more the last couple of years. I read Ernest Hemingway, Farewell to Arms, even read some of the classics. And like I said, sports biographies, history biographies. Just, you want to be a good writer, you got to read great writing as well. And writing doesn't mean as much anymore. Unfortunately, that was a good separator at ESPN when I got there. If you could write, that kind of put you ahead of people. It's a more visual world now, and so it's less writing. But it can still come into play and really make you look like you really know what you're talking about, command a topic, especially with this whole Michael Jordan Bulls thing. Like my son didn't grow up during that time. I grew up during that time. Jordan's the same age as I am. So I'm going to be able to, talk about that, write about it with more feeling and empathy because I was there. So you can't do it if you weren't there. So, that's what's important about history. And you can almost put yourself back there. I can start putting myself, the more books I read about Lincoln and Ben Franklin, you begin to know them more, and then you really start to feel that era more and more. So reading's a big separator.
Yeah, I love that. I love that historic. Was that the Doris Kearns Goodwin book?
Yeah, leadership. That was on leadership. Really good how she just went one chapter at a time.
Okay.
Lincoln, Teddy, FDR, LBJ, when they were young, then they ran for politics the first time, and then when they were presidents, and then how they died. And it was just really a great book. She really brings people to life.
Yeah, I like how they go back and read their kind of journals where they all wrote back in the day. Really get to know who they are. Amazing. John, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. Everybody can go check out John on Twitter at Buccigross. Check him out on ESPN. Watch him for the hockey. John, thank you so much.
Anytime. Thank you.
You're the best. Thank you so much.
Peace.